an unconstitutional hoax.
Aloha and welcome to Trust and Verify, the show that shows up whenever the hell we want to. No, I'm just kidding. We're trying so hard to get here at 7 p.m. Eastern, but we screw it up every week. So before we get to the big, great breaking show, I want to give you a warning. This show is not going to be for the faint of heart. Before we get to that, though, I got to introduce my friend, my partner, my co-host, Boogie Bumper. Boogie, how's it going, brother?
Good, James. Don't drag me into. It's all your fault that we never go at the right time. Obviously, I mean, I'm an angel. You know, I'm very, very strict when it comes to going on at the exact right time. You know this, James. Stop spreading misinformation. Maybe we should have you kicked off the platform for spreading lies, hateful lies, conspiracy theories. Thanks everyone for joining us in the chat. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you again for another week. I'm red hot. I said to James, I'm just going to open the kimono here, James. Said to James 5 minutes before we went live, I am fucking pissed, man. Pissed. And he said, oh, good. Let's get going then. Let's do a show. So thanks everyone for joining. Thanks everyone for sharing. Just a reminder, if you can't watch tonight, you want to listen to it at your leisure, be sure to look for Trust and Verify TAV show on, iTunes or Podbean. How's your week been, James? Good?
Yeah, what can you do about it? You just get up and soldier on, brother.
Soldier on. Well, there's a few people who aren't going to be soldiering on, unfortunately, as news came out through the week of certain people being taken off platforms like Facebook, and it's not something that happens in isolation. This is a topic that I've been talking about on my show for the last 3 weeks at least, and we knew that it was gearing up to this moment. People who listen to my show, my daily show, you've been talking about it for a long time as well, and the particular words being used, dangerous content, an entirely subjective term. I mean, a pencil is dangerous in the hands of John Wick, right? So what is dangerous and what is not? So I feel like in light of this, we need to get back to basics here. So this show is going to be a call to the people who call themselves liberals. You are not a liberal. If you support certain things and certain ideologies and certain drives, then I'm here to tell you, you are not a liberal. Let me start off this way, James, by taking a quote from the great John Stuart Mill, a guy who was writing extensive essays by the time of his 12th birthday, believe it or not. Long dead, unfortunately, we could use him now. The peculiar evil of silencing the expression of an opinion is that it is robbing the human race, posterity, as well as the existing generation, those who dissent from the opinion, still more than those who hold it. If the opinion is right, they are deprived of the opportunity of exchanging error for truth. If wrong, they lose what is almost as great a benefit, the clearer perception and livelier impression of truth produced by its collision with error. I want to show you a little clip. You know these little 5-minute clips that people do? Philosophy 101, James? What is in Introduction to Liberalism? Let's go through some of the core tenets of what it means to be a quote-unquote liberal, and let's see how many of the people we discuss on tonight's show actually fall into these categories.
Centuries. At the core of liberal beliefs are ideas that anyone living in a modern Western democracy will find very familiar. Individualism, freedom, equality, tolerance, and rationality. These beliefs are the key tenets of liberal thought. And while liberals will not all agree on a single interpretation of these beliefs, they will all support the basic principles they represent.
Okay, individualism. Let's start there.
Liberals believe that all people should be treated as individuals.
Oh, really?
With their own thoughts and needs, rather than as part of a group or collective.
If you, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, my Democrat brothers and sisters, substitute the individual for the group identity, you are not a liberal. Black and white, full stop, period. If you put the adherence to a group over the importance of the individual itself, then you are not a liberal. Let's carry on.
This means liberals reject ideas suggesting the needs of a group, religion, society, or nation should come before the needs of the individual.
Equality.
Leading on from this belief in individualism is a belief in equality. Liberals believe that all people have equal worth and should start out from an equal position in life. Liberals reject ideas of hierarchy based on birthright or unearned privilege.
Really?
This position is known as equality of opportunity.
Equality of opportunity, James. Isn't that funny? See, if you believe in equality of outcome and the need to achieve equality of outcome by things such as gender quotas, diversity quotas, putting the group identity ahead of the individual merit of the person as a means to, manifest some kind of false new reality where everybody is quote unquote equal because you have, deliberately manipulated a system in order to represent a certain amount of people in a certain amount of positions. If you believe in that, guess what? You're not a liberal. Sorry. Equality of opportunity is liberalism. Equality of outcome is something else entirely.
As we are all individuals, and equal individuals at that, liberals believe that we should have the right to do what we want with our lives, free from interference by the state or other outside forces.
The state or other outside forces, like, say, corporations, for example, right?
Yeah, like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah,
those kind of corporation influencing.
Exactly, James. Exactly. Funny that. If you believe that you are not free to think what you wish and say what you wish, free of the state and outside forces. Perhaps you believe in something like hate speech and you think the government should regulate personal interactions between people, what people can and can't say to each other, and enforce these interactions with the power of the state. Or perhaps you believe in corporations enforcing this manufactured reality upon other people, demanding they have to say certain things and they have to talk to each other in certain ways. Guess what? If you believe in that, you can, but you're not a liberal.
But don't push play. Don't push play. Don't forget about the freedom to spend your money wherever the fuck you want to spend it too. Don't forget that they're taking away that freedom. Oh yes, the corporate monarchs at MasterCard are deciding that you can't give me money if you want to use MasterCard. Think about that.
Wow. There you go. Well, if you believe in that, you're not a liberal.
The only exception to this is if we use our freedoms to restrict the freedoms of others, in which case the state is expected to step in and prevent this intrusion.
Yes, we wouldn't want to restrict the freedom of others, like, say, putting on a black mask and standing in front of a building preventing people from going to work. Something like that, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or preventing people from attending a rally by spray painting, spraying pepper spray in their face, going up, bullying them, stopping them from free assembly. Guess what? If you believe in that kind of thing, you are not a liberal.
A belief in freedom wouldn't make much sense without a commitment to respecting other people's freedom. And this is why tolerance of other people's choices is a big theme in liberalism. Liberals tolerate the differing beliefs and opinions of others.
Do they?
But they will not generally tolerate behavior that restricts the rights and freedom.
Look at that. Isn't that an apropos picture right there? Oh my God.
Punch a Nazi, James. Punch a Nazi. Punch a guy who's standing on the street giving his opinion to a TV camera. Even if you find that particular opinion abhorrent yourself, if you believe in physically engaging that person who has not put you at any risk at all physically, then guess what? You are not a liberal. You're something else entirely.
Of individuals.
Reason.
Liberalism as an ideology came to the forefront during the European Enlightenment and retains a deep respect for the Enlightenment ideals of rationality and reason.
Really?
Liberals see reason as the best way of understanding the world around us and reject beliefs and institutions that they see as promoting irrationality.
Right. Okay. So say, for example, James, you are of a particular gender because you feel it to be so. And this feeling that you have, you see anybody else who brings some kind of rationality or reason or argument to the table, well, they're to be dismissed instantaneously. Why? Because they haven't lived through your personal experience. They don't know how you feel. Therefore, they must, be wrong by definition. Feelings are what? Feelings rule over reason. Remember, reason, James, was just invented by a bunch of old white guys to try and prove to everyone that they're right about everything. Really? I mean, it's a very Eurocentric way of approaching argument and looking at the world, this rationality and reason thing. It's inherently racist. It's inherently supports white privilege and white power and the continuation of these ideals. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, if you believe that feelings trump reason, you are not a liberal.
Dude, great comment. Great comment in the chat by Michelle SoCal that we just saw on screen, the E equals MC squared. Well, she just said for the new modern day Democrat, lefty, liberal wannabes, it's E equals me too.
Yep, 100%. Let's go to the first article today, James. Instagram and Facebook ban far-right extremists. Alex Jones, InfoWars, Milo Yiannopoulos. I'm sorry. I still can't believe that they call Milo Yiannopoulos the man who brags about how much black dick he takes every time he's in front of a camera. Apparently the Nazis love him. The gay liberal who loves having sex with black men. The big Nazis love him, apparently, James. Did you know that? Did you know that? Big far-right extremist. Paul Joseph Watson. Laura Loomer, the Jewish Nazi herself. She was ripped out of there as well. Paul Nayland and Louis Farrakhan have all been removed from the platforms. James, look at this. InfoWars is subject to the strictest ban. Facebook and Instagram will remove any content containing InfoWars videos, radio segments, or articles, and then in parentheses, unless the post is explicitly condemning the content. I need to repeat that. Facebook and Instagram will remove any content containing InfoWars videos, radio segments, or articles unless the post is explicitly condemning the content. Ladies and gentlemen, Facebook has 2.2 billion users worldwide. Facebook is now going to remove anybody who mentions Alex Jones or InfoWars unless they are explicitly condemning Alex Jones or InfoWars. This is an enforcement of a speech protocol. It is saying that you are only allowed to criticize this particular person and no one will have a right to reply. Not in Alex Jones, not InfoWars, not even a blogger with 5 viewers on YouTube, James. If you have 5 viewers on YouTube and you come out, you make a video about Facebook and you say that it's wrong to be banning these people because it's a very illiberal thing to do, then you shall be banned also. Think about this. Corporate control of the public square. Think about what this means for future.
I'm telling you, we need to be able to sue these fuckers. But here's the thing. I want to give you some statistics behind this shit so everybody understands why they think it's okay to do this. 80%. Listen to that number again. 80% of all of these users on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter are not in the United States of America. Okay? That is why they can get away with this. This is why they're following UN protocols. It's why they're following EU law. It's because 80% of that number. But here's the upside, people. If you actually can explain to the left how their totalitarian bullshit is bullshit, 20% is enough to tank all 3 of those companies. The 20% of Americans standing up to this totalitarian bullshit, like real liberals, real Democrats, real blue dogs that are out there that understand the danger that anti-freedom policies pose. If you stand the fuck up right now, we can affect the marketplace. And if you don't, well, fuck you too. And we'll move right on to the lawsuits because I think that that's where we have to be headed. We have to be headed there before we listen, here's the biggest scare thing that everybody should be afraid of. Everybody, especially the left. That we just got done watching that video. Who controls the government and all of its agencies right now? We do. The MAGA people. So if we wanted to express your totalitarian views on you, you're fucked. Keep that in mind. So you of all people should be standing up for freedom of thought and the ability to assemble wherever you want. Because without it, we can just send the police in and say, fuck it, arrest them all and fuck the consequences, because there is no consequences. We control everything. Just keep these things in mind of where we're headed. But here's the real scary thing. Here's the biggest scare for everybody. Remember what they did to internet poker. Yeah, everybody's right now probably going, what? Congress, rather than try to be able to fix a problem so complicated as internet poker, just made it illegal, banned it, outlawed it. So how hard do you think it will be for them to do the same thing here? Not very hard. Not very hard. It's pretty fucking simple that they could fuck this thing up so bad where they literally ban social media rather than fix the problem. We had the same debates. Go back in history. We had virtually the same debates we're having now over internet poker. It's just changed. Just take out internet poker and input social media. You can put Facebook in there, Twitter. We had all the same debates. It looked like what they were going to do was regulate it. What looked like they were going to tax it. They couldn't get it together, so they just fucking banned it. And they banned it like in a week. Like just like this. It was one day all we were talking about was regulation. The next day it was banned. Illegal. Done.
Yeah, and look, here's another thing for you as well. And, you know, you can either take this or leave it and say, oh, this foreigner, he doesn't know what he's fucking talking about. Why are we listening to this foreign devil anyway? He's colluding. You can say all that if you want. You don't have to be a Democrat to be a liberal. The United States Republic is founded on individual liberty and liberalism as a fundamental ideology. Individual liberty, individual rights, James, equal opportunity, freedom of speech. These are liberal ideals. I'm taking the fucking word back. No longer are you going to be able to be a tyrant, a totalitarian tyrant, and brandish about the liberal term. I'm sorry. It's done. You are done. I'm not putting up with this shit anymore, and neither should you. There are liberals in the Republic side as there are liberals in the Democrat side. You know, you can be a conservative liberal. This thing exists. This is practically what the nation was founded on. But these people who run around and demand others be banned and be taken down and be deplatformed and, you know, oppressed by the state, they are not liberals. I'm sorry. We just went through the 5 fundamental values of liberalism, and the modern day people who call themselves liberals, by and large, do not comply with one. Not 2, not 3, not 4. They don't comply with one of them.
One.
Look at this, James. The company has also failed to crack down on anti-vaccine content. They're never going to stop. This is the tyrannical slippery dip into hell. They are not going to stop until everything is wiped out. You don't understand. Despite repeated promises to limit its reach, in March, I found that a quarter of the top posts with hashtag vaccines contained anti-vaccine messaging. And more than 2 months later, a Business Insider investigation found that anti-vaccination hashtags and memes were still thriving on the platform. We've got to put a stop to this. We can't let these people go around spreading anti-vaccine messages. Why, this is dangerous content, James. Dangerous content. Josh Russell, a misinformation and extremism expert, posted a Twitter thread on Wednesday outlining all the ways Instagram has failed to contain Russian misinformation campaigns. Instagram has become the internet research agency's go-to social network, according to Wired, and in the lead up to the 2018 midterms, thousands of Americans were following Russian-backed accounts intent on sowing division. Simply by following Instagram suggestions, Russell was recommended 240 Instagram pages posting misinformation. Banning these extremist figures is a step toward stricter moderation of extremist views. No, it's a step forward to regulation of speech, full stop. Here's the reality. People who call for the extremists to be banned, James, do not understand the natural equilibrium that will occur. There's always a fringe. There is always going to be a fringe. It only matters where you define the fringe to be. If you cut the fringe off, just say you take the 10% off either end of the scale, the new fringe is the people that were 10% in. And guess what? Down the line, they'll be called the extremists, because you can only decide an extremist view relative to your own position, right? This is why we believe in things like free speech. This is why, if we call ourselves liberals, we want all the voices out there as much as possible, because then we are able to ascertain for ourselves where we stand in the mix. Am I further to the right? Am I further to the left? If everybody's to the far left, then anybody to the right of Mao will be an extremist fringe. And that is something that we cannot allow to happen. Now, look at this. Brian Stelter gloating today on his show, James. Check this out.
Big move by Facebook, banning several accounts, and now there's new blowback from the commander-in-chief. President Trump's furious reaction to Facebook's action showcases that he is, I'm sorry to say,
yeah, I bet you are,
the InfoWars president.
Brian, do you realize that by chastising the guy that you've been calling an authoritarian for the last 2 years for getting angry that people are being banned from the public square, Donald Trump is more liberal than you? You balding, knuckle-dragging Neanderthal. You philosophically illiterate gnat. You disgusting peasant pustule of a man. Donald Trump is more of a liberal than you, Brian. These are hard facts. This is truth. This is not misinformation. This is reality.
He is promoting the same alternative universe as InfoWars.
Go ahead.
Sharing.
I want to bring just a couple of points. For one, the video we watched earlier, literally, instead of liberals, take out all the words in referring to liberal and say, and insert MAGA, and virtually MAGA believes in every one of those principles. Then look at what these people are doing. Here's the good news. They are creating, like the point that Boogie just made is what I'm talking about, is that they're adding to our numbers right now. They are forcing people. They are forcing people that believe in freedom to join the MAGA party, even if they hate us. They are going to vote for us because they understand that, just like Martin Niemöller's poem, they're coming for you next. These people right here, Brian Stelter is highlighting right now. He's actually blowing up Alex Jones, because when you restrict people's content, you restrict people's access to it, they will turn around and find that access, especially when they are being accused of being a Nazi. When they're like, wait, I know I'm not a Nazi. This is bullshit, what's going on. He is blowing up Alex Jones right now just by doing this. It's almost like you couldn't ask for anything better if you were Alex Jones. Because I want you to think about this. When Donald Trump won the presidency, Alex Jones floundered for months because he didn't know what to do. He had been fighting the establishment for 20 plus years at that point. And all of a sudden, he won. He had no idea how to be a winner. He had absolutely no idea how to be pro-Trump and pro-government at that point when he had won what he stated his outside objective was. So he floundered for a very long time. These people right now are pushing Alex Jones back into that box to be able to fight. They've given him a new enemy, a new target, a new direction, and a new thing to grow from. He's going to be bigger than ever now, thanks to retards like Brian Stelter.
Yeah, and with the President of the United States retweeting it to just rub it in your face, Brian.
Videos from repugnant characters.
Repugnant characters.
Now, InfoWars, of course, is that web show and website led by rageaholic Alex Jones.
He said Donald Trump is retweeting videos from repugnant characters. The rageaholic, James. Rageaholic. The rageaholic. I guess you know, if you deal in passive aggressive rage, then nobody really knows your problem. You know, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem. I don't have rage. I don't stress. Do you want to see one of the videos that the president retweeted today from the repugnant characters at InfoWars? Check this. This is what CNN deems hateful. This is what they deem as repugnant. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what Facebook deems dangerous content. Now, listen very carefully, and I want you to remember how we opened this show, and I want you to really sit down and think about, honestly, hand on heart, and I want you to ask yourself, am I or am I not a liberal?
I stand for all his policies, both religiously and politically. He's already done so much for the country.
Dangerous content, James.
He's really doing a great job. As far as abortion goes, that was one of my big issues. I very heavily stand for the unborn, and so his policies
Dangerous.
as far as that
Repugnant.
goes has really, really affected me.
He is a great man for our country. I do believe so. Yes, I do. I love Trump. Go Trump!
Hateful, repugnant, dangerous content, James.
The hate is clearly over there. He's trying to give us freedom.
You can feel the vibes of hate coming from over there.
Yeah.
If you look over here, the people aren't screaming at them.
Peaceful protesting. This is not what peaceful protesting is all about. This is what they think is acceptable. This is not what Trump stands for.
That's because, my good sir, they are not liberals. They may call themselves liberals, but they are not.
But they don't understand that. Why are they mad for us believing what we believe and we're not mad at them for believing what they believe?
They're not tolerating the other side's views at all, are they? They're practically having to be held back by the police to stop them from running over there and clawing their eyes out like animals. Because, again, they're not liberals.
I think it's all out here to get each other out of our skin, and I love it. It's out here for entertainment purposes for me. They say because I'm black, I should be over there. And I'm not black. I don't go by black. I go by two or more races.
These people here that InfoWars are interviewing, they're more liberal than the people who call themselves liberals. Simple. It doesn't get any more simple than that. I want you to check out this guy, James. This is Oliver Darcy, a man who has single-handedly gone on a campaign for over 2 years to get InfoWars deplatformed off social media, off YouTube, dedicating almost every single segment of his pissy little segment on CNN that nobody watches. He's personally written mail. He's personally started campaigns on Twitter to get these, entities like InfoWars taken off the air. Here's Oliver Darcy reporting the news today.
Just into CNN, Facebook is purging several high-profile names from its platforms.
Purging.
Among them, Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan, right-wing conspiracy.
Go ahead.
Purging. Everybody remember the movie The Purge? This is what they're doing. This is like you're watching like virtual The Purge right now. And how long before that transgresses into it happening in real world terms? Just think about what they're trying to set up. See, there's people like me that will not take this. We will scream. We will fight. We will do everything we can. We will create alternative platforms to fight them from. We will infiltrate their platforms to fight them from. We will do everything. And if they take it to the streets, we will take it to the streets. There is nothing they can do to stop people like me from fighting. And this is the point of what they're doing. They're not countering extremists. They're creating extremists. I am a mild-mannered person. I go to work. I feed my family. I work my ass off. I don't have time for bullshit and drama. I am mild-mannered. You start shit with me, I will walk across the street. You get in my face, it's on. That's the difference. You're creating extremists like myself. You're going to push me from a center, middle-of-the-road person that will avoid conflicts if possible to a person that will seek conflicts, because it's that serious to stand up for freedom at all levels, all the time. They're not limiting extremists. They're creating extremists.
Yep, and I've even seen conservatives and liberals, so-called liberals, cheering that Louis Farrakhan has been taken down. Yeah, they took Alex. Yeah, they took Milo. Yeah, they took Laura Loomer. Yeah, they took PJW. But at least we took one of theirs in Louis Farrakhan. I'm like, no. Doesn't work that way. We need some absolutes here. If you are if they're sweetening the deal by taking the leader of the Nation of Islam, who, yes, he does hate Whitey, okay? And he says a lot of shit. But if you find yourself saying, well, at least they took down Louis Farrakhan, he's been a problem for years, you have been choke chained into responding the way that they want you to. You are now accepting the terms of engagement that they have set for you. You are now in support of removing people that you plainly just disagree with. Simple as that. You're now on board with the policy. Because once you get into thinking, well, only the people I like should be allowed and the people I don't like should be taken off, guess what? You're one of them and you're not a liberal either. Simple as that.
theorist Alex Jones, as well as his media outlet InfoWars. They're being banned for spreading, quote, dangerous ideology. CNN Business senior media reporter Oliver Darcy.
Dangerous ideology, James. Alex Jones is probably best defined as an angry libertarian. That's the best way I can place him. And he doesn't hate any particular race. He doesn't hate, he's known for, he marched against the KKK once upon a time. Do you remember that? He once got arrested by George W. Bush for protesting against the Iraq War. Dangerous ideology, James.
Darcy joins me now. So what more do we know about this ban and who else is included?
Yeah, this is a very strict action from Facebook, Erica. Basically, they've deemed these individuals to be dangerous, is what Facebook has said.
Darcy lives for this moment. This is his dream come true.
Those individuals include Nation of Islam leader.
This is his victory lap.
Louis Farrakhan, who has a history of anti-Semitic remarks. People like right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, and then also some right-wing media personalities who are pretty popular online. People like Milo Yiannopoulos, Laura Loomer, Paul Joseph Watson. Those people are banned, as well as failed congressional candidate Paul Nehlen, who had made a number of anti-Semitic remarks. Facebook has given us a statement, and they do say in their statement.
Anti-Semitic? Laura Loomer?
Well, right? Yeah. Anti-Semitic, Laura Loomer, and the way that he's describing these things, like they're only popular online. That's why he said that way, as if to say they couldn't be popular in the real world. They can only be popular online, as if that popularity has anything to do with where you are. Like, people like this show because we're popular, because we speak truth. So those people find us popular. Doesn't matter whether we're in the real world or online, it's the same. They would like us in their face as much as they like us online. The same is true here. These people are trying to diminish other people. This is like personal politics 101. Like, they are literally trying to diminish people. And it's just, again, goes back to, you're not a fucking liberal if this is how you talk.
No, it's worse than that. And, block your ears, boys and girls. If the kids are watching, walk them out of the room. Block your ears if you don't like the scary parts. It's far worse than that, in my opinion. And, I'm not one to say things like this, but this is worse. This is the demented, philosophically illiterate minions of the corporate demonic entity taking his spiky, spiny penis and shoving it down their gullet. That's what's happening here. That's exactly what's happening here. They have become slaves to something that they don't understand and don't want to understand, and they are merely out there cracking the whip. They are cracking the whip for somebody else's commands. Look, it gets worse.
I'll read part of it to you right now. They say that we've always banned individuals or organizations that promote or engage in violence and hate, regardless of ideology. The process for evaluating potential violators is extensive, and it is what led us to our decision to remove these accounts today. Facebook told me that the process they use is to engage a number of factors. Have they promoted hate speech on Facebook? Have they been banned?
Have they promoted hate speech on Facebook? Who decides what hate speech is? People like Oliver Darcy.
And for violating the rules in the past? Have they self-described themselves as part of a hate movement or hate ideology? Those are the factors that Facebook was weighing, and they're taking this really strict action moments ago.
It's nauseating.
It is. Defined themselves as part of hate ideology. What the fuck is hate ideology? In fact, I can argue right now. Let me see if I can get ourselves banned off this fucking platform. I hate Oliver Darcy's bullshit that is coming out of his mouth right now. Therefore, I have espoused that I am part of hate ideology because I hate people who are anti-freedom. So apparently that is hate ideology. It's hate ideology to hate people who are anti-me. What? You are a fucking idiot.
Again, remember, go back to the start of the show. If you missed it, please watch the replay. If you go around saying that people need to be removed for hate speech, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, you cannot under any circumstances be defined as a liberal. You are not a liberal. Full stop. You are something else entirely. You are the sick love child that crawls out of the bed stain in Satan's boudoir. That's what you are.
Let me go even
liberal. You never were a liberal.
Let me go even further here. I don't think we should have laws against inciting violence. You know why? Because you're limiting free speech. If I can successfully incite people to stand up to the fucking government from their abuse of our freedom, that should not be a crime. That's standing up for freedom. There's a big fucking difference.
What if you were a general? What if your country was going to war and you're a general and you give a speech to rile up the troops to get them ready to go out there and fight the good fight? You're inciting violence at that point, aren't you?
Yep.
Because you're motivating people to commit acts of violence, are you not? I tell you what, let's arrest all the generals too while we're at it, because we're liberals.
And ban them from Facebook and Instagram, correct?
Instagram as well.
Facebook obviously owns Instagram, and so someone like Alex Jones, who had been banned from Facebook a while back, last year in the summer, but he was still having a presence on Instagram, and that had drawn a lot of scrutiny from people who are saying, "Hey, you guys."
Hang on.
Scrutiny from people. He was saying it. Why are you still letting Alex Jones on Instagram? You can go to his Twitter timeline right now and find these posts.
Let me go to something that was just brought up. Yelling fire in a crowded theater. You know why that should not be banned? It should not be illegal. The whole point of why they did that was to end run the Constitution's rights of freedom of speech. It's all insightful. If someone in a fucking crowded theater yells fire and you're dumb enough to jump up and panic without finding what the hell's going on, that's on you. You're a dumbass. Okay? It was all made up bullshit. Because if I stand up in the middle of a fucking theater and I scream fire, it's fire! That means I'm getting your motherfucking attention. Stand up and look around for some fire. And if there's no fire, you as the crowd in that theater can all fucking boo me, tell me to shut the fuck up, throw me out of the fucking theater. You have lost your ability to think for yourself. That's exactly right. What if there was a fire? What if there was a fire? Wouldn't you want me to not whisper it? Hey, there's a fire. Pass it down the road. Hey, there's a fire. Pass it down the road. What? If there's a fucking fire, I want someone screaming. There's a motherfucking fire. And guess what? Right now in this country, there's a fucking fire. And it's coming from these leftist, ideologically driven idiots that are trying to suppress your mind. Not just your speech. They're coming for your mind because you will lose the ability to hear dumb shit. And when you can't hear dumb shit, you can't think of a good thing to do because you don't even conceptualize what the opposing position is unless you hear it. I right now cannot dream up this stupid shit coming out of Oliver Darcy's mouth. I do not have the ability to think like him. So therefore, I will have no way to know how to address the topic if I can't hear it come out of his dumbass mouth. That is why they are trying to come for freedom of speech. If they can control your speech, they can control your mind.
And something I've said many times on this show, James, and my own and other shows, and anybody who'll listen to me, free speech is a two-way street. And it's not just about somebody having the right to speak, because when you start banning people and ripping people out of the public square, you are now infringing on my right to listen. You are denying my right to hear somebody speak. And remember, the video that we played earlier, right at the beginning of the show, freedom. And the freedom, once you infringe on somebody else's freedom, that's where it ends. So since you are now infringing on my freedom to listen to something, guess what? You are no longer a liberal. You are not a liberal. I'm more liberal than you are. Yes, if I listen to Alex, who the hell do you think you are to decide for me what is dangerous and what is not? Who the hell do you think you are to decide what I can listen to and what I cannot listen to? Oh, you might be very impressionable. You might get the wrong idea. You might be laced with misinformation. I'm here to protect you. No, you're not protecting me from anything. You're making the world a far worse place. You are driving intolerance right to the fore. I can listen to a whole bunch of shit. It doesn't mean I'm going to believe it. But you sick, psychopathic tyrants want to be the only ones out there. You are not liberals. Remember the quote from the start. John Stuart Mill, the peculiar evil of silencing the expression of an opinion is that it is robbing the human race, posterity as well as the existing generation, those who dissent from the opinion still more than those who hold it. If the opinion is right, they are deprived of the opportunity of exchanging error for truth. If wrong, they lose what is almost as great a benefit, the clearer perception and livelier impression of truth produced by its collision with error. If you remove these voices and then there is no longer a collision with error, people can no longer figure out what the error is. That's the problem. That's why free speech exists.
And them from one of your platforms, why are you allowing them to have a presence on Instagram? Mm-hmm. And so, yes, now Facebook is going to be banning Alex Jones and InfoWars from not only their...
And just on the screaming fire in a theatre, James, just to tack on the back of that, there's a great speech by the guy who spent most of his adult life as an avowed socialist, Christopher Hitchens. And he goes, right, and he was a socialist who believed in free speech. Guess what, liberals? If you don't believe in free speech, then the guy who was a fucking socialist is more liberal than you, right? You need to get this through your heads. And he spoke about this fire, yelling fire in a crowded theatre. That originally came from a court case where the government was prosecuting Yiddish-speaking socialists, right, who were putting out pamphlets written in Yiddish that weren't even written in English, warning against America getting involved in the First World War. And they threw them in prison. So you want to fire in a crowded theatre? What happened then after that? What happened after that? Perhaps they were right to yell fire in that crowded theatre. Did you want to add something to this, James, before I carry on?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I knew you were going to bring up Christopher Hitchens because I've seen that before, that clip. That clip is powerful because it is someone I absolutely disagree with 99.9% of every word that's ever come out of his mouth. But when he talked in that speech about fire, 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 now you've heard it, doesn't seem so dangerous. It's highlighting exactly what I just said, that this was lawyers making an argument to sell you on why you should allow the suppression of someone's speech, and that it was a way to end run the Constitution, and they put those people in prison. This is what you need to understand, that it had nothing to do with any deaths that had ever occurred due to any kind of situation ever. It had to do with the government wanting to put people in prison and violate the Constitution to do it. Look at where we are today.
Correct.
Main platform, Facebook, but also from Instagram. I checked in also to see if these people would be banned from WhatsApp, which is also owned by Facebook, and a spokesperson.
I checked in to see if these people would be banned from WhatsApp. He just said, that personal messaging service?
Cannot say immediately because it's, I guess, unclear whether some of these people have WhatsApp accounts.
We got to hunt them down and take them off WhatsApp. They're not going to stop. It's not good enough that he was taken off YouTube. It's not good enough that he was taken off Facebook. It's not good enough that he was taken off Twitter. Now you've got to be taken off WhatsApp as well. And after WhatsApp, it'll be the next thing. And then the next thing. And then it's taking the banking away, James. These people are not going to stop, ever. They want you in a ditch. They want your vocal cords ripped out and your fingers torn from the palms of your hands so you can no longer type on a keyboard. This is tyranny.
You want to know who fears free speech? I'm telling you this true. You know who fears free speech? People that are lying to you. Because they don't want you to hear an opposing opinion. That's why I don't fear any trolls. That's why I eat trolls for fucking lunch. Because when you come for me... Let's see.
Yep, it just cut. So now it'll probably restart anew. There it is. It's come back live again. So we're on back live again.
Unfucking believable.
Here we are. We're back. Carry on with your rant, sir.
Hang on. Let me reshare out the show so that everybody knows that we came back. I do not know what is going on. That happened to me on Ladies of Liberty, and now it's happened to me on this show. And right in the middle of a really good part, as usual. That's really weird. Very strange. All right. Give it a minute here. We had 200 people in here, and we're down to 80. And now I can't even remember.
While we wait, how about I do this? How about I do this just quickly?
Yeah.
Which are John Milton's Areopagitica being the great hill of Athens for discussion and free expression, Thomas Paine's introduction to the Age of Reason, and I would say...
That's right. A socialist who believed in free speech and wrote books, glowing books about one of his heroes, Thomas Paine, one of the founding fathers in the United States.
John Stuart Mill's essay on liberty, in which it is variously said, I'll be very daring and summarize all three of these great gentlemen of the great tradition of especially English liberty in one go. What they say is, it's not just the right of the person who speaks to be heard. It is the right of everyone in the audience to listen and to hear. And every time you silence somebody, you make yourself a prisoner of your own action because you deny yourself the right to hear something. In other words, your own right to hear and be exposed is as much involved in all these cases as is the right of the other to voice his or her view. Indeed, as John Stuart Mill said, if all in society were agreed on the truth and beauty and value of one proposition, all except one person, it would be most important. In fact, it would become even more important that one heretic be heard, because we would still benefit from his perhaps outrageous or appalling view.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Now that one person, not only does that one person need to be ripped away from the public square, James, but all who follow that one person need to be uniform in their condemnation of that one person, lest they be ripped out of the public square as well. That's the level we're getting to now. And we're not asleep at the wheel. Look at this. Oliver Darcy spoke about WhatsApp, James. Oh, let's ban them off WhatsApp too. WhatsApp was purchased by Facebook in 2014. This is 2017. China blocks WhatsApp, broadening online censorship. Back in 2017, China has largely blocked the WhatsApp messaging app, the latest move by Beijing to step up surveillance ahead of a big Communist Party gathering next month. What does it sound like to you when people call for people to be banned off things like WhatsApp, personal messaging services? Guess what? It ain't fucking liberal. It ain't liberal. Here's a story from last year from Brazil. Same paper. Disinformation spreads on WhatsApp ahead of Brazilian election. Yes, they went on to blame the Brazilian election, the election of the Brazilian Trump, Jair Bolsonaro, James, on WhatsApp. People sharing memes and spreading misinformation on WhatsApp. And we've got to put a stop to it. People have got to be taken down off this personal messaging service. Over the past few months, the 120 million Brazilians who use WhatsApp, James, the smartphone messaging application that is owned by Facebook, have been deluged with political messages. The missive spread through the country by the millions have targeted voters ahead of Brazil's fiercely contested presidential election, a final runoff between a far-right candidate, there he is again, and Fernando Haddad, the leftist Workers' Party candidate. Guess what? Banning WhatsApp, you are not liberal.
Absolutely. So thank you, everybody in the chat, for reminding me of my place. Meg, I saw you. I wasn't ignoring you, and I know everybody wants me to get back to it. But when right where I was this is who doesn't want free speech. Who wants to spit it against you is people that are lying to you, because and exactly the point where I was that this is why I fucking eat trolls every time they come in, and why we don't get trolls that much, because they get their ass kicked when they walk into our room, because we spit the truth. It doesn't matter their bullshit. The liars are the ones that don't want you to hear both sides of an argument. They want to sit there literally and go, no, I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you. Because they know when you hear the truth, you will discern for yourself who's lying to you. And once you accept that someone's lying to you, they've lost all their power over you. So think about it. Who are the biggest liars in our country right now, besides the Democrats? who are the biggest liars in our country right now? The mainstream media, the fake fucking news. And they are touting, shut them down, hate speech, deplatform, get rid of opposing voices. They even literally, these idiots right now on that CNN clip we were talking to, that we were listening to, the idiot themselves said, and his media company. I want you to think about that for a second. She stated, and his media company. And they're touting it as a success. They're touting the silencing of a media company. Yep. What does that tell you? They're fucking too stupid to understand that literally the FCC tomorrow can pull their license and they're off the air until a judge overturns that ruling. But they're gone. They can literally go in, pull their license. If they broadcast a single second after that license is pulled, arrest everybody related to that station. And the only thing that would happen, the only consequence would be that a judge would overturn it. Who cares? Literally, think about that. The literal only thing that keeps that on the air is the forbearance of the American people. That is why politics is so powerful. This is why it is everything. Because there is no physical consequence to the administration if they pull their FCC license. None. No one has the authority to arrest the executive branch. No one. There is no police agency that works for Congress. There is no police agency that works for the Supreme Court. There is no consequence to pulling them off the air other than political, other than us voting out an administration that would act like that. So you have to ask yourself, why in the fuck are the liars touting removal of our voices? Why are they banning us, all of us, little old me, little old Boogie, interrupting our thoughts and our streams and banning people like Tamara Lee, little old Tamara Lee, who does the show Trend On. They took her account that had something like 50,000 followers. She had to start over from scratch. This is why I've told you guys all along, I don't care about popularity. I don't waste a moment's time any day building my platform. Not one. I broadcast. If you show up, excellent. If you don't show up, I broadcast again tomorrow. Same thing, day after day, 7 days a week, and I do not spend a single ounce trying to build my fucking platform because they, the powers that be, can take it whenever they want. Whenever they decide that my speech is telling too much truth and they can't have that. So why waste the time racing to a top that's going to be taken away from you when I could spend that time thinking about how to argue against dumb motherfuckers like Oliver Darcy who can't even see that his own nutsack is on the line while he is broadcasting hate speech against Alex Jones, against Laura Loomer, against Milo Yiannopoulos, against everyone that's being taken down. Because the only people that hate free speech are people lying to you.
Brandishing people as far-right extremists, James. Essentially terrorists is what they're saying. And whilst the CNNs of the world, James, are celebrating in lockstep the abject removal from the public square, the squashing of the First Amendment, the squashing of the values of liberalism in themselves, because, again, these people are not liberals. We proved that in the beginning. There's you go to that 5 minute clip. You can, if you want to put people through the test, that's the way to do it. These people fail the test. They are not liberals. On the same day as they were doing this, James, Wolf Blitzer has a message for us. You won't believe this.
Finally tonight, a word about today, World Press Freedom Day.
World Press Freedom Day. Well, my ears pricked up. Surely he won't celebrate the removal of a media company from the public square, James. Surely.
It was established by the UN more than a quarter century ago to recognize that a free press isn't a luxury. It's essential to develop and, more importantly, to maintain democracy.
yeah, we got to ban all the people that we don't like. We got to get rid of them because they're dangerous.
It's hard to believe, but that idea is under assault now more than ever.
You bet it is, Wolf, because we just fucking watched it on your channel, mate. We just watched it. You're damn right it's under assault. It's under assault from hacks like you, son.
In far-flung corners of the world, journalists are under siege. In Myanmar...
No, in America, in Australia, in the UK, journalists are under siege. They're being labeled as terrorists by your network.
Wal Lone and Joe Sou of Reuters are in prison, held for reporting the truth. In the Philippines, my former CNN colleague Maria Ressa has been charged for criticizing the Duterte regime on her website, Rappler. And in Syria, it appears the Bashar al-Assad regime is still holding Austin Tice, a brave freelancer, former U.S. Marine, after 6 years. His parents hold out hope tonight he's still alive. And sadly, right here in the United States, reporters who show up to do their jobs are often insulted, harassed, sometimes, as was the case of our friends.
Poor fucking babies.
Yep.
They're killed. And they're called the enemy of the people.
There it is.
By the President of the United States.
There it is. No, Wolf. No. You are not a liberal either. I'm taking the fucking word back. I don't care if you are my senior. Now you're on the tyranny side now, Wolf. The whole thing about having a free press is if you're not allowed to criticize the free press, it ceases to be a free press, Wolf. If people have to take whatever you serve up as unquestioned truth and as the moral beacon for the rest of the world, it's not a free press, Wolf. Are you following? Are you listening to what I'm saying? When you advocate that media companies that have a different angle and a different outlook than you are removed from the public square, you're not a free press. You are acting as a de facto arm of the police state at that moment. Don't you dare call yourself a liberal, and don't you dare cry about the free press being under attack because Donald Trump tweets mean things at you. You disgusting, insufferable, pathetic worm. Once upon a time, Wolf was good. Once upon a time, all these people were good. They've shifted into high gear. Here's a cute little article for you, James, from Media Matters for America. Media Matters, all right? Study. Major media outlets' Twitter accounts amplify false Trump claims on average 19 times a day. See, the mainstream, it's not good enough. The mainstream press has to stop reporting on Donald Trump himself. Major media outlets failed to rebut Donald Trump's misinformation 65% of the time in their tweets about his false or misleading comments. The data shows that news outlets are still failing to grapple with a major problem that media critics highlighted during the Trump transition. What is that problem, James? Glad you asked. When journalists apply their traditional method of crafting headlines, tweets, and other social media posts to Trump, they end up passively spreading misinformation by uncritically repeating his falsehoods. Repeating what the president says is now spreading misinformation. Wow. See, if you're not critical of Donald Trump, then you are part of his propaganda machine by proxy, according to the liberals at Media Matters for America.
These people are insane. I'm going to tell them the truth, though. This is a truth that they're not going to like at all. The truth is the reason the press isn't highlighting his lies every time he lies is because it would actually prove that they were lying. It would actually prove to American people. See, Americans will do research. Even the crazy lefty loon bombs that are out there. They will critically think at some point when something smacks them upside the head. It might not happen immediately because the 4 a.m. talking points crowd, they just go, yeah, rah, rah, rah. At some point, the truth is going to smack them upside the head. Like, get a fucking job. Like, those kinds of things of reality happen every day. It will. I want them to go ahead and try to go ahead and try to fact check every single one of Donald Trump's tweets, because the whole reason he does it, the entire purpose behind what he does, is to force people to talk about it. And that highlights exactly what we've been also trying to tell you about AOC. AOC is getting free press by acting like a dumb fucking idiot. Now, I grant you, it's probably not an act, but at this point, someone in her staff has told her if she was really that dumb as she's portrayed, I'm not saying she's not dumb, as she's portrayed, they would have told her to shut the fuck up by now. They would muzzle her ass. Okay, this is how these things work, especially someone who applied for the job through an acting call, right? Like, just think about these things about her. She's getting free press. Everybody in America should not know the name of AOC. She's a first-term congresswoman. First term.
I shouldn't know her name. I know her name. How's that possible?
No one should know her name. But she's doing it. It's called, it's elevating your profile. And I'm going to tell you this. Compare her actions to exactly what Laura Loomer does. I know some people didn't like that comparison that I just made. Laura Loomer is raising her profile at a constant rate. That's what she does. That's why you see what's called being loomered happens. Because people that had no business knowing who Laura Loomer is now do because of her antics. Okay? This is how you use social media to raise your profile. You get people talking about it. You get people paying attention. And then you get people thinking. Her crowd is all about name recognition and who blows who. So if her party likes her, if her party is spouting this nonsense, she's spouting exactly what the left wants. The Green New Deal. She is spouting exactly what the left wants to hear. No more planes. Overpopulation. Don't worry about the planet's going to explode in 12 years. She's telling everybody in the world exactly what the left wants you to hear. Just think about that. We're making fun of her because we know it's stupid. But what they're doing is using it to raise their profile. And that's what the president does better than anyone. And that's what Laura Loomer's lesson was that she learned from the president. Is that she learned how to raise her profile by doing antics that are staged. That, come on, who thought that she was actually going to get her Twitter account back by handcuffing herself to the building of Twitter? But she got some really good press from that, didn't she? Right? I thought it's an escalation cycle. As soon as she stops doing these things, you forget who she is. Why do you think AOC keeps doing shit like, I didn't know our vegetables came from dirt? She trolled you better than you've ever been trolled, and you sucked it up. You didn't even realize that you're being trolled. Because the left doesn't care about that stupid shit. The left isn't caring about that. They care that Occasional Cortex is talking about get rid of all the planes. That's what they care about. Laura Loomer is making sure that you're paying attention that she was banned. But she has a purpose. Her purpose is to raise her profile so everybody in America knows Laura Loomer. Just think about what's going on here. They're all comparable. See through the bullshit and understand what happens.
Absolutely. You know, I was just thinking about this earlier today when I was watching that clip on, I forget. It was some kind of lefty activist creating a scene. Actually, I had the article here. Maybe I'll play it. Actually, yeah. Let me go to this article first, and then I'll find the clip and I'll play it for you of Alyssa Milano, and I'll go back to your point. Let's keep the illiberal circus going, shall we? Lock him up. Bill Barr didn't perjure himself, but he's in big trouble anyway. Oh, I can just lock him up, even though he didn't lie. Great. Great. We're liberals, by the way. A letter leaked to the press Tuesday night exposed these comments as lies. It turns out that Barr had received 2 letters and 1 phone call from Mueller complaining about Barr spinning. That's not true. That's not true. It was from Mueller's team. That's the best we've heard. We haven't heard anything to contradict that it was from someone in Mueller's team rather than Mueller himself. And Barr didn't receive a phone call from Mueller. He called Mueller. So there's the lie right there. Should this be taken off Facebook for misinformation? I don't think so. I'm happy to have the lies and the nonsense out there because it gives us an opportunity to do a show like this, to point out where these people are wrong, so people can have a clearer understanding. Because in the words of John Stuart Mill, James, we all get a better understanding of what's truthful when we allow the nonsense to smash up against reality and see what spills out onto the floor. Most observers assume that a particular stress point was Barr's denial that any obstruction had occurred when the Mueller report lays out 10 separate incidents that any fool could see constitute obstruction of justice. Well, I guess then Mueller must be a fool because he didn't say it constituted obstruction of justice, remember? He handed it off to William Barr and he said, you make the call. So no, you cannot put in the report 10 incidents of obstruction of justice and then not make the call that it is obstruction of justice and get a free fucking pass. You don't get to do that. Sorry, Rob. Sorry, Bobby. It doesn't work that way. He couldn't make the call if it was obstruction or not. So he passes it on to the AG. The AG says no. Well, it's obviously obstruction of justice. Any fool could see that. I would suggest the person writing this is indeed a fool who can see probably many things that aren't there. Doesn't mean it's necessarily true. Trump's cover-up is now in plain sight, James. Remember, they're covering up something that is readily available to anyone to read. You wouldn't believe it if I told you. Making no effort to hide an unprecedented attempt to thwart criminal investigations into Donald Trump, as well as stymieing congressional oversight of a laundry list of wrongdoings, the White House has launched a new and dangerous era in American politics. Today, the corruption and contempt for transparency is out in the open. The contempt for transparency, you have the fucking report. You have it. You can look it up right now. You can read it. It is one of the most unredacted official government documents of all time. Like, we're talking like 96% unredacted. He didn't even have to do it. Oh, the contempt for transparency. What the hell is wrong with these people? Again, remember, go back to the start of the show, which is now on a different episode, unfortunately, because we got cut off. But the start of the show, remember, James, a reliance on reason. Remember reason? That's a fundamental value of liberalism, is adherence to reason and rationality and rational arguments. So at the very first hurdle, these people smash their forehead into the hurdle as they crash into it, causing what's left of their brain to escape in a dust plume. Right? Well, he's got contempt for transparency. They tried to cover up the report. You mean the fucking report he didn't have to release and gave you anyway? What the hell is your problem, man? It gets even better. After all this, trying to cover up the report, James, William Barr should be thrown in prison. Some not so liberals are at their wits' end.
So, Ann, how does Don McGahn going to Congress change anything? I understand that they have lots of questions because they saw ample evidence of obstruction in the Mueller report. So obviously Democrats feel like they need some answers. But at the end of the day, it's all in the Mueller report. As Lauren just said, they know that he threatened to quit because he thought that he was being asked to commit crimes. How does him going before Congress change anything?
I mean, if you look at the Mueller report, what Robert Mueller says, Don McGahn says, is that the president told him to fire Robert Mueller and create a fake paper trail.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what's in the Mueller report.
That sounds like obstruction of justice, and they won't do anything about it.
So William Barr says it didn't happen that way. The only jury that matters in this is the U.S. Congress. The U.S.
jury.
Congress.
No, they
there
don't
it
matter.
is.
They don't matter.
Oh no! This idiot is highlighting exactly what we said the left was trying to do with this bullshit of that Jerry No Nads Nadler was trying to set up with the staff questioning William Barr. They were trying to criminally prosecute A.G. Barr and Donald Trump in Congress. It doesn't work that way. Congress has no authority. Separation of powers by the Constitution of the United States specifically precludes Congress from operating those types of government. And the reason, the very foundational principles of the United States of America to separate this power was this fact. If the king can make any law they want, what good is it to not have a king? Think about that. The president, if he made the law and he didn't like what you were doing, he could just make a law and then arrest you. That's why Congress cannot, under any circumstances, have the authority to operate governmental agencies, because they make the fucking law. If they make the law and they're allowed to then prosecute the law, they can put anyone they want in jail for any reason at any time. Separation of powers specifically precludes this behavior, and it pisses me the fuck off that these dumb motherfuckers on TV don't understand it.
And James, remember too, one of the values, liberals apparently hate when authorities act like monarchs. Remember that? Do you remember that? Guess what? You're not Democratic members of Congress. You're not liberals either. Sorry.
Chris wants to get Don McGahn in front of them to get his version, to cross-examine Don McGahn on what is in the Mueller report, especially after Bill Barr now.
I mean, I guess my point, John, and I'm sorry if I sound like they've broken my spirit. However,
but that's what it sounds like, and but I think that's the goal too.
Well, it's worked because I think that I am channeling many members of the American public who feel that these past 2 years have been disheartening for people who believe in justice.
You fucking tawny bitch! You don't believe in justice. You just want to throw the people you don't like in prison. That ain't justice, sweetheart. Right? Holy shit. Your network spent all day celebrating people getting ripped out of the public square. Justice? Justice? Remember, rule of law, James, that everybody should be treated equally under the law is also, guess what? A liberal value. I got news for you, honey. You ain't liberal either. You ain't liberal either. And just on, the escalating your profile, James, let's watch this short clip for Alyssa Milano before we go to our next thing. I know we're running out of time. We're going to try and get through.
If you look through the window, you'll see a lot of...
The backdrop here is Alyssa Milano is calling out a Georgia lawmaker over an abortion bill. Listen to the snapshots of the cameras while she's doing this, by the way. Listen to those cameras going off.
He's really hoping to hand deliver this letter. I'll be happy to get it to him. Okay, and he's not here. Is there a time I can come back to hand deliver it? We can get something scheduled for you. Okay. Well, I'll leave this here. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the left-wing loomer.
And then can I call? Do you have a card that I could call and set up a phone conversation with him? What? I don't know if that's going to be. We've got an email.
Smile for the camera, Alyssa. Smile for the camera.
Georgia, are you from? I work in Georgia.
You vote in Georgia?
The guy says, what part of Georgia are you from? I work in Georgia. By the way, this article is called Alyssa Milano's Political Awakening, how the star of Who's the Boss. She wasn't the star. That's a lie. That's misinformation right there. The star was obviously fucking Tony Danza. Right. You disgusting frauds. She was not the star. She was an extra. And Charmed became an A-list activist of the Me Too era. James, Trump is so scared of Biden that White House staff can't get him to stay focused. Oh, well, they're trying to whip Donald Trump into shape, but he's just so obsessed with Biden because he's scared. Donald Trump's behavior since former Vice President Grabby Jojo entered the 2020 Democratic Party. By the way, #mammogram, Joe Biden giving America a mammogram, primary race has made it clear he's scared that Biden will be his general election opponent next year. Trump is so scared, in fact, that his own staff is struggling to keep him from talking about Barack Obama's former VP. There you go. And it took an Aussie on ABC, James, to set the American peasant straight when it comes to Donald Trump apparently being scared of Joe Biden. Check it out.
Why is the president so enthralled with tweeting about Joe Biden? Is that who he worries about?
Trump, there's been a couple of people who have told him, or there's at least one person I know of who's told him to stop elevating Biden because it's only helping him. But Trump likes to try and define people early on. I mean, that's his whole game. It's like, I need to brand him. It's all through the lens of branding. So that's what he's doing right now. And Trump just looks at the polls. It's not that complicated. He sees the polls. Biden's at the top.
Why is it that us Aussies just have an inherent talent to handle the bants better than most people? These guys are all saying he's scared of Joe Biden. This guy's like, no, he's just bantering him into submission.
I'm going to spend a lot of time beating this guy up. I mean, I genuinely, from any conversation I've had with people around Trump, I don't think he's expressing, wringing his hands, oh, what do I do about Biden? That's just not how he is. But there are people around him who see Biden as the biggest threat, and it's for very simple reasons. The Rust Belt is where they need to win this election, and Biden can take a lot of these voters. Let's be honest, it's farcical. I mean, how many deadlines has Jerry Nadler given? High noon deadlines. Right. April 2nd, you must release the more important. And then the Justice Department said, oh, that's really cute. We're not going to do that. Deadlines. Oh, Matt Whitaker, you must comply. Oh, actually, no, we'll back off. Bill Barr, you must testify. And guess what? Monday morning, 9 a.m., the latest deadline. Another deadline. Pound sand will be Bill Barr's response to that. And just keep doing it, because here's what the dirty secret is. They can hold him in contempt. It's been done before. It matters nothing. It goes through the courts. It's going to get dragged out. Bill Barr knows he's got the power, and he is telling them to go shove it.
God, Aussie on ABC, dropping some truth bombs, ladies and gentlemen. James, why do the Aussies handle the bant so much better than you rebellious scum Americans? Why is that? Open question.
I really actually think that in many ways, even though I think that a lot of the people in Australia absolutely don't get it when it comes to, real freedom. Like you guys are very far left on a lot of your stuff. But I would say that you're closer to rebellion than anyone ever anywhere else on the planet. I think it comes from the fact that you were founded as a penal colony, but you are more than willing to tell anyone who disagrees with you, oh, go fuck yourself, and you'll do it live on the air. So I think that's why. I think that really is where it comes down to. I think Americans have, in large part, especially the lefties, become very soft. They have forgotten. Yeah, they have forgotten what it means, what the American Revolutionary War meant, how our ancestors would literally pick up a kitchen knife to fight an entire squad of British troops. Like, we had a hard time winning. I'm talking about little old ladies running taverns, literally would do anything to kill British soldiers. And this is a fact of the Revolutionary War. It didn't matter. Remember, in fact, both of the twins, Karen and Georgia Peach Meg, one of their favorite quotes of all time is to say, remember, Americans will cross a river in the middle of the winter to slit your fucking throats on Christmas Eve. Remember that. That is where Americans come from, and too many have forgotten that. Too many have forgotten those lessons.
That sounds like violent, dangerous hate speech to me, my friend. Unfortunately, you should fold right back into the monarchy as soon as possible. I think this kind of rebellious talk is very dangerous, and that leads us to the crescendo of tonight's proceedings. James, it's time for the hammering.
Oh shit! I'm so fucking. I'm so unprepared, dude. Hang on. It's gonna. Dude, I'm so fired up over this bullshit that we just watched. Before we get to the hammering, in fact, because I have to load this fucking thing up and get it ready. Anyways, I want to highlight another point that someone in our chat, Sylvia Sue, inadvertently probably quoted Sun Tzu just now, and earlier in there she said that. Never interfere with stupid people talking. Now, that doesn't sound like a Sun Tzu quote, but it actually is. It is the modern day interpretation. Sun Tzu quote is, never interfere with your enemy when they're busy destroying themselves. Just keep that in mind.
Stop the hammering.
Well, in the loving memory of Sun Tzu, James, perhaps we should take his advice on this occasion and just let the enemy speak for themselves.
I'm joined now by Congresswoman Maxine Waters, chair of the House Financial Services Committee. This is not the purview of your specific committee, but you obviously have strong feelings about both the Department of Justice, how it's conducted itself, this president, Mr. Barr. Your reaction?
Mrs. Waters. Representative Waters, we know that you have no official links to anything that you're about to talk about, but we want to hear your opinion anyway.
Into the news that Mr. Mueller objected in writing to the characterization, called Mr. Barr and asked him to release those summaries, and none of that was done.
The whole report was done! People are fucking insane. I can't believe it. This is the best they've got. This is the best they've got. Like, I know the start of the show was probably a bit depressing, the lengths that these people are going to fuck with us on a daily basis. But look at the people who want to control what we should listen to. Look at the mindlessness of the people who want to decide on our behalf what is dangerous and what is not. These people don't know shit from shoe polish, James. They don't know shit from shoe polish. They don't know their asshole from their ear hole. Right? Oh, dude, he should have released 19 pages of the report, and he didn't do any of that. No, he did far better. He did far better than that. But let's carry on.
Well, first of all, I am so pleased that our special counsel, Mr. Mueller, not only wrote a letter to Mr. Barr, but
I'm so pleased that Robert Mueller wrote a letter. What the fuck are we talking about here? What about the report? Remember the report? Nobody's talking about the report anymore. Now they're talking about a letter that Mueller wrote to Barr saying he didn't like the memo that Barr put out. But what about, I thought it was all about the report. No. I'm so proud of Robert Mueller. I had someone in my chat the other day, James, saying Robert Mueller did a great job. And I'm like, oh, what? Great job. $26 million, 2,800 subpoenas, 500 interviews to come up at the end of it and say, well, we still haven't answered any of the questions. What the fuck was he doing? Like, were they playing Space Invaders in the office? What the fuck was going on? How could you spend 2 years investigating something to come out at the end of it and go, obstruction of justice? I don't know. You figure it out. What great job did he do? Holy cow. He wrote a letter, apparently. He wrote a letter.
got on the telephone, and he absolutely said to him that what he had done did not capture the context or the substance or the nature of his work.
We can read. Oh my God.
Hold on.
Maxine, you have his work. You have his report. Why are you worried about the memo?
We had an excellent comment in the chat. What the fuck is that lipstick color? Baboon ass?
That's hate speech. I disavow.
And so now that it has been revealed, it helps the American people to know that this administration and all of those who are lined up with the president trying to protect him have obstructed not only justice, but obstructed Congress of the
Obstructed justice and obstructed Congress, James. Is obstructed Congress even a thing? Does it even exist? And apparently it's so obvious that he obstructed justice, yet Robert Mueller, the guy who spent 2 years, $26 million, 2,800 subpoenas, 500 interviews investigating that very question, again, got to the end of it and said, I don't know. Could go either way. I don't know. I mean, it's that watertight. The guy who had all of the special powers of, the Department of Justice granted to him in a special counsel investigation, got to the end of it that apparently it was so obvious he had to turn around and say to William Barr, I don't know, mate, you figure it out.
United States of America. This is typical of what is going on with this president and this administration. They do everything that they can to deny information about who this president is and what he has done.
Deny information? You have, one more time, you have the report.
The whole thing, and your leadership has access to a 98% clean report. Only 2% redactions, which is 6E material. 6E material, no one's allowed to see because it's grand jury information. These people are stupid, but I will say about the glow-in-the-dark lipstick, I can tell that it actually is the producer's fault. I just want to be clear about this because I'm in the industry. I have to push all the bells and whistles to make you guys be able to see this. If you look at her eyes, it will tell you that the camera and the production crew fucked up the white balance because her eyes are not blue like that. So they fucked up the color balance in MSNBC's, that the production crew did that. That's not the actual lipstick color. I know it's still funny as shit, don't get me wrong, but it is a production error. Watch her eyes. Her eyes aren't blue like that.
No, actually, if you look more closely, her eyes are incredibly bloodshot, so she might be high as a kite, which would explain the lipstick anyway.
He refused to be interviewed. He fired Comey. He has basically refused to criticize Putin.
He's refused to criticize Putin. Oh, well, that's all the proof we need. Don't even worry about the Mueller report, James. We have the Mueller letter. And this administration is doing everything they can to obstruct the American people from information. What's that, Maxine? Do you have the report in your hand right now? Forget about the report. Who cares about the report? I don't even know who wrote the report. What about the letter that Robert Mueller sent to William Barr, James? Robert Mueller sent to William Barr saying, I'm very displeased with the memo and the characterization of the report. And William Barr didn't even do anything about it, except release the entire report. And just to add on, rub salt into the wound, James, all the evidence we need is right there, even though Robert Mueller himself couldn't fucking figure it out. But it doesn't matter. Donald Trump refuses to criticize Vladimir Putin, therefore guilty. Guess what, Maxine? You're not a fucking liberal either, sweetheart. That's your hammering.
Stop the hammering.
Folks, that's all the time we got for you tonight. By the way, in case because we had problems, there's actually 2 episodes that go together for this one single episode, thanks to some kind of strange tech issue that only showed up for the first time in history last night and today. Oh, incidentally, it coincides with the banning of half of the conservatives in the world off of social media. Isn't that fucking interesting? Having said that, if you want to follow him, you can follow him at Boogie Bumper. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at Real Person PLTCS. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at TAV Show, and you can find all our prior episodes on TAVshow.com. Aloha, everyone. Have a great night.
Victory is not winning for our party. Victory is winning for our country. This year, America will recognize 2 important anniversaries that show us the majesty of America's mission and the power of American pride. In June, we mark 75 years since the start of what General Dwight D. Eisenhower called the Great Crusade, the Allied liberation of Europe in World War II. On D-Day, June 6, 1944, 15,000 young American men jumped from the sky and 60,000 more stormed in from the sea to save our civilization from tyranny. Here with us tonight are 3 of those incredible heroes. Private First Class Joseph Riley, Staff Sergeant Irving Locker, and Sergeant Herman Zaitchik.